This is the War Room Roundtable podcast, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and relevant businessmen and women on the planet. Hear their stories and get the most important business lessons they've learned on the road to success, and get exclusive advice on how to implement their successes into your life and business. The War Room Roundtable is brought to you by your hosts, Jason Miller, CEO of Strategic Advisor Board, and Phillip Lanos, CEO of Own the Rhythm, and former podcast host for Entrepreneur and Inc. magazine. Welcome to the War Room, Drew. It's a pleasure to have you here. How you doing?
I'm doing excellent. How are you?
Yeah, man, we're doing good. We're happy to have you. It's not often we get to talk to somebody who specializes in what you do. So we'll get more into that. Where does your origin start? What does it look like? Like, did you come from a family of entrepreneurs? Is that something that was in your environment when you were growing up?
I wouldn't say that. A lot of my family went into medicine, actually. I've got some siblings who are doctors and nurses and things, but business was just a passion of mine since high school. And that's kind of where it led me onto entrepreneurship.
I see. In high school, you were like lemonade standing or selling candy out of the backpack.
Well, yeah. If back in elementary school, I was selling drawings door to door for $0.25 a piece, I think, and trying lemonade and all that stuff. But it was really getting into high school and seeing business come together with psychology, actually, to understand consumers and why they want things, why they do the things that they do. That kind of all came to a head in the form of marketing and entrepreneurship for me.
Wow, that early. Huh? Okay. So then where does it really start to take real hold where you're actually you decided to go out and actually make some money beyond just being curious about it? Was it in high school?
I've had like 1,000 business ideas, most of which I haven't pursued. I think for me, graduating from college, I wish I could say I was the college dropout that just struck off on my own and made it big, but that wasn't me. I went to college. I got the diploma to put on the wall. Worked for some big companies, and then always on the side, I'm thinking of what's the side hustle or what's the business that I can create. And so that's just kind of the way that my mind works.
I like that, man. I've noticed most people who do and eventually succeed as entrepreneurs have that habit of like constantly seeing the opportunity for money to be made. Like you have to, if you're going to be in business, that's part of, and there are some people who just don't. And then they go into business and they're all about the craft of what they may be doing that isn't necessarily generating revenue. And it's really hard to watch that happen. I myself am a creative originally. So it's something that I've notice is the biggest difference between me and most people in business. And it's something that I'm beginning to realize, and I want to highlight it on the show, especially because it was so apparent when you said it, is you're always thinking of what could be the next side hustle, the next thing. I'm sure even now with your more established professional life, you're still like, yeah, that would be interesting to pursue. Do I have the time for it? Probably not, but I bet you someone can make a couple of dollars off that. Is this true?
Yeah, I think what you said resonates with me, which is just identifying the opportunity of what is not just out there, but what could be out there, what's possible, and is there an unmet need? That's the business 101 is taking an advantage of an unmet need or servicing an unmet need in a new or different way, and that's the bedrock of entrepreneurship, in my opinion.
Man, and someone who I know is just like that is Jason. That's what I'm saying. Like I can't have a single conversation with him going, there's a deal there somewhere. And I'm like, really? Where does it? Where is that? And it's just that is, like you said, the bedrock of entrepreneurship, but it's also the DNA, right? Like it's inescapable. So before we go any further, I want to get to the point here. So in my notes I have here, you're a marketing director for Tonies. Right.
Yeah. So Tonies is a screen-free audio speaker system for kids. It actually started in Germany. I didn't create it, but I helped launch it into the United States about 2 years ago. And basically what it does is it plays songs and stories for kids. So you put a little figure on the box and it'll tell a story or sing a song. So it's a great screen-free alternative. You see, we've got characters like from Sesame Street or Paw Patrol or Disney, and it's a great way to entertain and educate kids without having them stare at a screen.
That's really fascinating. I went to visit my sister, I think it was last Christmas, and I saw how much time, like, kids go crazy if they can't be on their tablets, like literally throw tantrums, throw themselves on the floor. And even if parents wanted to take them off at this point, if they've spent any amount of time consistently, it is hard to get them to stop using that and do anything else. And even play outside, like maybe some of us here on the in this room right now talking had done when we were kids. And it's so cool to know that it's basically like an Amazon Alexa that's like kid friendly only, right? Is that like another way of saying that?
Yeah, it's similar. So like, Alexa can play songs and stories, say, hey, Alexa, play me a story or whatever. Maybe the downside to that is kids can also get onto the marketplace. They can buy things. You might have something showing up at your door. So there's no threat of that with the Toniebox. It's more of a self-contained experience. And because we have the figures, it's a tactile play experience as well. So that's a little bit different than
Right. It's so important though, man. I mean, Jason, you're a parent yourself. Does that sound interesting to you? Like, wow, like screen free?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we just live in this world of all this technology, right? And with every technology comes its pros and cons, right? So, iPads, computers, smart TVs. I mean, my TV's smarter than me, for Christ's sake. Jesus criminy sakes. It's terrible. Or my kids, they know how to run all this stuff more than I do. I can't get something working. My 6-year-old's like, well, Dad, you got to plug this in. It's like, well, Jesus, really? And there's another, and I can't remember what it's called, but it's it totally different. It's a like an animal type thing. And it's very interactive, so on and so forth. I met this guy a couple years ago, and they just did a huge launch of this product. But I really love the idea of getting away from all the electronic stuff like that. I make a very cognizant effort, like during dinner and all that kind of stuff, dinner, family time, stuff like that, because now technology can help you too, because now I can go on to Comcast and go kill Wi-Fi, right? And the whole house is shut off, right? And then it forces, because then you just tell the kids, oh well, Comcast must have went out, I guess, right? So I guess we got to play a board game, and then you get that time. I mean, it's kind of a tricky way to do things, but in these times of technology that we need more stuff like what you guys have, because it brings kids back into a different way of learning. And that new way or not new way, that's the way I learned growing up, is through stuff like that. And it's a different cognitive experience, I think. And I bet you there's a ton of research to prove that too. So I think it's great. I love it.
Yeah, is that accurate, Drew? And also, like, how did you get it? Did you found Tonies, the company itself?
No, maybe it would help to just give you a little bit of my journey. I started out at P&G, actually, coming out of business school. I was working on some big beauty brands, Olay, CoverGirl. Ended up working on Jergens body lotion for a while before I just got bored of it. I was doing coupons for the Sunday paper, trying to sell $7 tubes of mascara and $5 bottles of lotion. And I wanted to do something more fun. So I went to Lego, and I ran the preschool business for Lego for a few years. And that's kind of where I started to get a real kind of, I call it entrepreneurial, because it was part of a big company, but just doing some different kind of things, launching new products, and having a lot more fun in the toy business, working on Lego. I also started my own daycare out in Connecticut while I was there. It was like a pay by the hour kind of deal, where I saw this need for parents to get a break from their kids. Maybe they want to go to a movie or go to the store, or go to the gym, so they could drop their kids off and pay for an hour, pay for 2 hours. So that was a business I started in Connecticut, and then came over to Tony's and just trying to continue on with that. It was founded in Germany, but I've been part of the launch team to kind of bring it to the United States and to launch it as a new brand. So even though I'm working for a company, it feels very entrepreneurial.
Yeah, it very much can be. In particular with that market, because the consumer product vertical, it's like the music industry. You have to be a rock star. Like it's either a hit or it's not, and that's that. And then you're sitting with a bunch of inventory, wondering what you're going to do with it. But the fact that it's in a vertical where money is actually spent already, because parents will spend. I mean, when I found out that like strollers are like $800 upwards to $2,000, I was like, for what? A thing that holds your baby? I began to realize there's a real tax on having a child, like everywhere you look, diapers, strollers, what have you. And yet, we as parents, it's no wonder that we'll turn to something like a tablet, which has infinite entertainment for very low cost to entry. However, is that the best decision for our kids, right? Like that's something you have to ask yourself as a parent. And many parents are overworked, underpaid, and you name it. So they're not even, I don't know, do the thing. Here's the toy. Here's the leave me alone. Right. And that's like, it's a sad reality, but it's a reality nonetheless. So it's really fun to know that someone with your background, like as an adult, right? I mean, somewhat an adult. I'm 34, but I'm sure there's some that will look at me and say, I still don't know how to wipe my own ass. You know? but I feel like if someone were to give me Legos on my birthday, I'd still be like, oh, that's awesome. I feel like all of us here would feel that, like, well, this is interesting, and like keep it on my desk. I don't know. Someone gave it to me as a gift. What was I going to say? No, it's Legos, right? So knowing that you came from that, and then you're in this vertical now. Did you carry anything over from Lego that has served you well in this new space? Because that's also a product in the market for kids. Was it a valuable education to come over, or was it a totally different beast the minute you came in and you thought, oh wow, I really thought that was going to prepare me, but this is a whole different ballgame?
There are differences for sure, but I think it definitely helped. Lego is a Danish company. So working with European counterparts is very similar to Tonies being a German company. Obviously being a toy for preschool children, there are a lot of similarities there. I think the biggest thing that I took from Lego into Tonies was actually just some of the successes that I had with the programs I created. Gave me a new kind of thought on influencer marketing, actually, because when you think of influencers, you think of all of these, I should use my words carefully, but just very put together people on Instagram that are showing you their highlight reel, and maybe you know them in real life, but probably not, because they've got thousands or millions of followers. And I take a different approach to influencer marketing. I find that influencers can be people that are actually in your community, people that you trust. And so I created a program at Lego called Prescription for Play, in which pediatricians would promote daily play between parents and kids. So the parent would take the child in for a wellness checkup, and the pediatricians would give them a prescription card and a product sample, and they'd say, hey, play with your kids every day. And there was such a response to that, and a quick response to that, that I thought, well, these are the influencers, they're the doctors. And so I took that from Lego coming into Tony's, thinking of who are the influencers for this product. Well, in my mind, it could be a teacher, because you put a Toniebox in a classroom and you help a child learn how to read, or you teach a child their phonics or their sounds or their letters. That's a powerful thing. And so if you get teachers on board with our product, then you can get parents on board with it. So that's just my take on influencer marketing and some of the translation I took from Lego over to Tony's.
It's incredible having that discussion, and hearing you speak just now the way you did made me immediately think and jump forward. And I don't always do this, but I jump forward into the future. Like, what is education going to look like for the youth and playtime when AI is now involved, and it's individual based, case by case basis, and their metrics and their KPIs and all their numbers are running, and with a total of 62 minutes of playtime, serotonin and dopamine boosts were such and such. I mean, because that's the world you're stepping into just now, even with like the screen free and that decision that you're making to be able to change the chemistry and the cognitive interaction with someone. There's a leap forward there. Is that something that's crossed your mind at all as far as your professional journey?
Yeah, I think I've learned that, if you can be on trend or on topic, it helps your career professionally for sure. It helps your business. The fact that we're a screen-free product coming on, we actually launched in the middle of lockdown in COVID. And so this was when parents were giving their kids screens at earlier ages and for longer periods of time than ever before. So to counterbalance that, to be able to give them a device that has no screen, that still entertains them, educates them, engages them, that definitely plays in our favor. But I think the other kind of part of your question that made me think was just the proliferation of technology in general, and the more virtual our world gets, I think there's always going to be a counterbalance to that of how do we stay in the real world and how do we remain present and how do we keep our kids grounded? And those are all questions that I think lend to a screen-free experience or an offline experience. However prevalent, technology is, there's always going to be the counterbalance to that.
I mean, there definitely needs to be a Toniebox for adults who work all day in front of computers. Hey, Tony, tell me a story. Yeah, what do you want to know?
I like it.
Order me a pizza. All right, coming right up. I don't know why Tony and pizza, but there's definitely a need for us to be off screen. This is as a society for more than we currently do. And, there are some people that take it to extremes and they're living off the land, man. But it's true. And I think you're right on the money. And I'm in full support of that, especially for kids, man, because my parents couldn't, for the short time that I did have them as I was growing up, they couldn't keep me out the house long enough as far as they were concerned. I don't know, go outside, and used to get into all kinds of trouble, like crank calling people on the little dial pads at the apartment buildings, and jumping into people's backyards as was supposed to be in. But kids don't do that anymore, man. They have a tablet and their video game systems, and it's just, that can't be good. You got to get into some trouble as a kid. That's part of being a kid, and no one's getting in trouble. People are causing trouble online, and there's a lot of crazy things happening on there, but the screen-free thing, I'm in full support of it, man. Full support of it. So before we go any further, I want to take a quick break to give a shout out to our supporters, and then we're going to continue this dialogue with finding out where people can learn more about what you're doing, where they can connect with you. So Rogue Publishing Partners is a partner of ours, a supporter of ours. And if you're an entrepreneur, executive, whatever, a coach, a consultant, if you're writing and you're publishing and you're trying to market books, Rogue Publishing Partners is going to give you everything you need to do that in one place. They call that a turnkey solution. And Rogue Publishing Partners is one that we believe in. Not only do they listen to the show and learn from the show and grow as the show grows through the educational insights, similar to this conversation, but they also themselves are very experienced professionals who have their own pedigree and career, much like Drew, where there's a whole history of professionalism that speaks for itself. So if that's something you're interested in doing and you want to work with people who do know what they're talking about, one of the people we support you to get in touch with is roguepublishingpartners.com. Let them know the War Room sent you, and they'll roll out the red carpet for you. On that same vein, Drew, where should people be getting in touch with you if they're a parent and going, you know what, I would like to try that, or I would at least like to learn more about that? Is there a social channel? Is there a website? Is there an email list?
So tonies.com is a good first place to start, tonies.com. That will kind of show more about the product, more about what we're doing. Also purchase there. On Instagram, you can find us at tonies.us. We're also in Target, though, and Best Buy, Barnes & Noble, and you can find us on Amazon. So we're out there. We're kind of growing our presence, and that's where you can find us.
That's super cool. So you actually already broke into major distribution.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a phenomenal story. The launch in Germany went really well. They sold a few million of these things. It's actually the fastest growing toy in Europe right now. And here in the United States, we're off to a great start. We won a bunch of awards I won't bore you with, but it's a really valuable tool, and we're starting to get traction, and that makes the conversations with people like Target a lot easier.
What would you say is the most difficult thing about being a marketing director for a consumer good like that?
I think it's just clutter. People are subjected to so many hundreds, if not thousands, of marketing messages every day. And it's, how do you let people know who you are? And how do you let them know what kind of value you can add to their household? And once you can do that, we have such, I believe, a good product that's universally applicable to anybody with a preschool aged child. If you can get their attention long enough to show them the benefits of providing an independent, screen-free play experience for their kid, you'll make a sale. It's just, how do you break through the clutter?
Yeah, man. I mean, like everything else right now, you're so right. It's so hard to stand out, and I'm glad that you stopped by a show like this, because if anybody understands getting an edge and doing things differently, it's entrepreneurs, and our audience is that. So you're doing the right thing. Like, this is definitely a part. Is this like, when you're a marketing director, do you choose the campaigns that you want to go to specifically? And do you have full ownership of that? Because I imagine someone like you would need that as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I came to Tony's from Lego. Is, Lego, I did some entrepreneurial things, but it was a very large company. Sometimes it's hard to be autonomous and entrepreneurial. Fortunately, coming to Tony's as part of the launch crew, the leadership crew, I can kind of make those decisions to launch the campaigns that I want to focus on.
That's how it is, man. That's how it is. And finding good directors of a marketing initiative is so difficult, because most people will just pull out the boilerplates and then spend your money the way it's always been spent. But I get the sense that that's not how you do things. So I'd love for the community to get to know you better, man. But it is tradition around here for Jason to close out the show with us. So I just want to say I appreciate the work that you're doing, and I'm rooting for Tony's. I'm going to put my sister onto that. She's got 4 kids. 2 the youngest are twins, and those girls need their tablets. Every time I call her, she's like, I gave you your tablet, you're supposed to keep it on the charger. That's a conversation that happens every time I talk to her on the phone. I hear it, inevitable. So I'm going to see what happens with that. But with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Jason before we hit the grand finale, and just to see his thoughts, because I'm sure he's got a few, specifically because he's a parent.
I love the idea of the screen-free type of experience for kids. And I think, honestly, it will make a big comeback at some point, right? Because we go through these trends and shifts and all these things. And really, when you think about it, you couldn't have picked a better place to get on and talk about this, to busy entrepreneurs. Right? And I hate that we're saying the word busy, but that's how a lot of people compartmentalize what they're doing, is just busy, right? Because a lot of people are busy, they're not really productive. And so the audience here really is perfect for this conversation, because guess what? Mom and dad or mom or whatever, they own a business, and they're always on the go, always doing this stuff. This gives an alternative, a big reach back alternative, which I absolutely love it. I think it's great.
Yeah, man. So with that said, if you could have invited anyone, Drew, to this show to listen in today, this particular episode, you had your pick of the litter, any person, place, thing in the world to be here as part of the room and insert himself with the conversation, who would you have loved to have had here, and why?
I love this question. A few different people are swirling around my brain, but one person that I just comes to mind for me is, his name is Joe DeSena. He's the CEO of Spartan.
Yeah.
And I just admire the guy so much. I am a Spartan racer myself. I just love what it does for motivation and personal performance, and just pushing yourself to limit. But just as an entrepreneur, I admire him for his grit and his ability to go through a pandemic like we've just gone through. His his product, his company is literally all about getting people together to race, and he couldn't do that for a number of months. And how do you run a company when your main product is entirely shut down? And he took the challenge, and he's thriving, and he's just somebody that I look up to a lot as an entrepreneur.
That's a really interesting point to bring up. A friend of ours, of Jason and ours, Cal Fussman, actually is pretty close to Joe DeSena, at least like a phone call away kind of thing. And I'm not, but Cal is. And it's true. Cal did the Spartan race because Joe DeSena convinced him to do it, to get back into shape. And Cal used to be a boxer at some point. And actually, the only reason he started boxing was because his kids had challenged him that he would never be able to get in the ring with someone like Julio Cesar Chavez, right? And he's like, "Well, I'll do it," and he did. Cal has a photo of him in the ring fighting a champion. It's crazy to me, man. And
really?
We gotta get on the phone with Cal to talk about that. Or the next time you talk to him, bring it up.
Yeah.
But I remember because I was helping him upload and edit the Joe DeSena episode. So I love that you brought that up, because I rarely hear people talk about that in the business circle, even though he's like one of the most relevant people in fitness and health. And maybe there's a mental health angle we can do with Tony's because Cal loves talking about health and wellness in general. So maybe there's something there we can do, and that might bring you one step closer. No promises, like, 'cause it's not my show, Cal show is not my show, but you never know, man. The universe works in mysterious ways. But with that said, it is tradition, like I said, around here for Jason to close us out. So I'm gonna let him do that. But Drew, it's been an absolute pleasure. I think you're doing the right thing, and somebody needs to champion causes that are alternatives to what most people just hand us and expect us to deal with.
I appreciate that. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. I will say that, what you're doing is a great thing. I love the concept of it, just as a parent myself, and we need to do more of that. I think just a quick story here. Here's something that this is like real from a parent, right? A real time thing that just happened last week. And that is, we've noticed that our son, because he got kind of stuck on YouTube, right? And we noticed how it's been changing his behavior, literally changing his behavior to where he gets a little sharp if you step in the room, or you walk in front of the TV, or you do stuff like that. So we literally shut it off for a week. We took it all away for a week. And this week, it's a different kid, right? So totally different. I mean, it's amazing how you just remove them from that just a brief amount of time, and the change that caused in his behavior and things like that. So there's some proof in having these different platforms like you guys are creating, because guess what he was doing when he wasn't watching TV? He was playing with Legos for an entire week. He built 3 or 4 different these big huge Lego things and so on and so forth. And then he said the other day, he goes, "Dad, that was a lot of fun doing that." And I was like, so it's like you're actually validating a lot of things.
Yeah, I hear a lot from parents, similar things. I think that's great. It's just about the discipline to get them off the screen. And once they do, they do a variety of different creative activities. And I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, man. Good. I mean, that snippet is totally a testimonial. just on the science of what you're doing, because it's so true. And even before we jumped on the conversation, we were talking about how easy and cheap the dopamine quality is of being on social media, right? Being on a screen, and how that changes the reward system, which I believe is probably what's happening with the behavior change. Is the minute that the reward comes from like building something and widgets, like that kind of physicality. That's really what's happening, is we're able to externalize things, and it's a healthier dose and a more steady dose of what we need, which is dopamine, the only real currency in life that gets us moving. And so there's something so important about this. And I feel like we're at a pivotal time in society where we're going to decide between maintaining something that's better for us. Like, that's why people love podcasts. People might watch videos, people may even read books. By and large, a lot of people like throwing a podcast on. They'll download one beforehand and listen to it or an audiobook on a flight, on a jog it's because it doesn't demand much of you and you can still be yourself. Whereas a screen will immediately force you to do that, and that's the thing you're doing. So there's something to be said about this, and there are plenty of people way smarter than me who had been talking about it way before podcasting got famous, and like something that everybody was doing. Like, I started in 2014, and everybody was like, "You do what? What is that for?" I was like, "No, look, the statistics are here. By and large, most people who do podcasting or listen to podcasting are college educated, and that." It's like, it was like back when people were still using like Alexa statistics at the time. And so it's real. There is something to be said about how much humans love to listen. And when it's not like radio edited, we're giving away 5, 5, 5, 5, like all that, like people like, what is that? Turn that off, but if it's not music but this talk radio, speaking to people, conversations, auditory, the kinesthetic, all that is real. So you're onto something, and I'm glad that this conversation got to foster that notion so that people can walk away from this and go, is this a decision I want to make as a parent? It sounds like a great alternative. But also, another question I'll leave you with is, what about me? How am I consuming? And can I be better and gain more from being off screen? Right? Entertain the thought. If it's good for your kid, it's probably good for you. All right, so those are my thoughts. But again, I'm gonna let Jason close this out because
this is a conversation we could literally continue for a while. But in the interest of protecting your time, great to have you. Thanks so much for being here. We all have the same 168 a week, and glad you could stop by for 35 and spend it with us and shed a little bit of a different light than we usually have. And it was well worth it. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Thank you again.
Right on.
All right.
Cheers. Thanks for listening to the War Room Roundtable with your hosts, Jason Miller and Phillip Lanos. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and always remember, if you can dream it and believe it, then you can go achieve it. We'll see you in the next episode.